Are you in a position where you're defined by your age, and that's limiting you to pursue a dream or goal you want to accomplish? The More Than Your Age podcast is about having conversations with women who fully live their lives without being dictated or defined by their age. This is a space to encourage women who feel blocked to pursue a dream or goal based on their life circumstances. Welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast. I am your host, Erica Pasbar. Let's start living life fully and become more than your age. When I first started this podcast, there were lots of fears that creeped in my mind for all the reasons not to move forward. I would tell myself, you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a following outside of your friends, who would listen, it's super scary, you don't know how to edit or what equipment to use, you do not know what you're doing at all. I am so thankful I did not listen to these setbacks. I learned that I needed to start small and grow from there and just see what happens. My guest on today's episode shared that little bit of insight when she decided to leave the teaching profession without having a plan for what to do next as a career, and then decided to pick up a camera, start small, and eventually create a wedding and family photography business that has taken her all over the nation. Joining me today is the one and only Courtney Bosworth from Courtney Bosworth Photography. Courtney, welcome to the More Than Your Age podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and especially with you and our friendship. So I'm excited to join you today.
I'm so excited that you're here today. I love that last week. So at the time of this recording, Courtney and I both happened to be in Florida around the Destin seaside area at the same time. I saw Courtney post about it, messaged her, and then she said, hey, we're doing this bonfire with s'mores. I found this company. Y'all should come. And so my family joined her family. And that was like one of my, when we asked our kids what was their favorite part of the trip, one of their things is chasing crabs. So they loved it. So thank you.
Oh, anytime. I think our kids loved that night. They still talk about it. They wish they could go to the beach right now and catch crabs. They ask every night. So yes, I was so blessed that we were in the same part of town, and it just worked out. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because we probably distance-wise there, we're about the same distance that we are currently, and we haven't seen each other physically in a really long time. And so it's like, okay, well, we can make that happen there. We can make it happen here too.
Yes, we definitely need to. So I think it's just when you get back to home and get into your life, it's just so busy and everything. And so when you finally have like a week off, you get to have that downtime. So it was just really nice to have that downtime and have you guys there. So yes.
Yeah. And it was great to just hear about your business and like what you're doing and what's going on there. And I was even thinking about like, we didn't even talk about the fact that we're doing the podcast together. So I thought that was funny. And I mentioned something to Jeff for the listeners. Jeff is Courtney's husband. I said something to Jeff about Courtney being on the podcast. And he said, oh, I didn't know she was going to be on the podcast. And I was like, what? Come on, Courtney. Come on, Jeff.
I know. I think he was like, you didn't tell me. I was like, babe, life is just busy with the fours. And I'm just like, I probably just didn't have the moment or the time to announce it. He goes, well, that's fun. I was like, yes. So yeah, it's, life is busy. So yes.
It's busy. Well, Courtney, I'd love for you to just start us off and share briefly about who you are and a little bit about your background. And we'll kind of get more into the nitty gritty of everything, but just a brief intro of you.
Sounds good. So my name is Courtney Bosworth, and I am a wife of almost, 8 years. It'll be 8 years in like 2 weeks. And then we have four littles. They range from 6, 5, 2.5, and 8 months. So we have three boys, one girl. And Jeff and I met in 2014 at CrossFit, and the rest is history. 8 years later, we are married with four kiddos. So I was a teacher for 5 years in the classroom. I taught 2 years in Grand Prairie, and then the 3 years in Frisco IC. And then I also coached as well, and then left the classroom in 2017. And I decided to pursue photography. And yes, from there, I have been in photography since, I would say, since 2018. So, yes, and we live here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and life is just busy with 4 kiddos, but we love it. I wouldn't ask for anything else to be one of the most important jobs I have is a mom with kiddos, and I love it. And school's starting in a couple weeks. I cannot wait. So it will be fun to get at least 2 kids back. So yes, but no, we enjoy it, and my husband travels for work every 6 weeks, and so it's just constantly busy in our household. And so I like the busyness, but I also like to slow down a little bit and enjoy the moments with the kiddos. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, you landed in Texas at some point. What initially drew you, because you're not from here, what initially drew you to Texas?
No, so I'm originally from Michigan. I grew up in Michigan. It wasn't until 2006, after my sophomore year at a college up there, I decided to take the leap of faith and move down here. I have an aunt and uncle and 2 cousins down here that I hardly see, but we're in very good contact, and they were willing to take me in. And so I left after my sophomore year of college and moved down here and to continue teaching because there wasn't teaching jobs in Michigan. And if there was, the pay was a little bit less than what Texas was offering. So I decided to move in 2006 and then pursue teaching down here. When I moved down here, I was thinking, going through the motions of being a teacher and everything, but then I realized I really wanted to do nursing as well. So I went ahead and did everything I needed to do to get into nursing school and got into nursing school at UT Tyler in January 2009. I worked in a hospital for 5 years and then did a semester of nursing school. And I decided, no, my heart was back in the classroom with the kids. And so I headed back to UTA and finished my teaching degree at UTA and graduated in May of 2011. So it did take me a little bit to go to school because I graduated high school in 2004. So I took the long road. At figuring out what I wanted to do, but I knew at that time my heart was into teaching and in the classroom and be with kids. And so, yes, I graduated 2011, and then I didn't start my teaching until 2013, just because I had to take all the certifications to get certified to teach. So, and then I taught for 5 years in the classroom. So,
I don't
yes.
I don't think I knew that about you. Or maybe if I did at one point, I forgot that you pursued nursing. Okay, so you decided then you worked in the hospital and you're like, this isn't my thing. Teaching is my thing. I have a heart for kids. What was it specifically that interested or drew your interest to coaching and working with kids?
So I'm a huge time, like, I love soccer. I played volleyball, I throughout high school and everything, and I knew my heart wanted to coach. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. And so I knew I needed to go back into the class to go and teach, and then hope and pray like maybe a teaching and a coaching job would open up. And it wasn't until a family I used to nanny for out in Frisco, Texas. They texted me and say, "Hey, do you want to come to Carly's talent?" And I was like, "Yes, I would love to." And at that time, I was teaching in Grand Prairie, and so I headed out to our talent show. And the principal at that time was there, and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, I always see you with the kiddos and everything. We might have an opening with social studies and coaching?" And I was like, "Really?" And I wasn't even thinking like I was gonna, go and potentially have a job offer. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I would love to coach. That has always been my dream to coach." And he was like, "Yes, it's for soccer, volleyball, and basketball." I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Well, can you interview next week?" And I was like, "Yes." And so I interviewed, and within a week, I had the job, and I was like, I just walked into my dream job. And so I shifted from Grand Prairie out to Frisco, and I was a sixth grade social studies teacher. And then at the end of the day, I coached eighth grade girls volleyball, basketball, and soccer, and the bus, like Miss Frizzle and the school bus. So I had to get my school bus certification as well. So that was fun. So the driving the bus was very interesting, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed coaching and just being. I felt like I had two of best worlds. I had sixth graders during the day, older girls at the end of the day, eighth grade girls, and the two were just vastly different. And it was, I really enjoyed having those eighth grade girls at the end of the day. So that was a blessing in disguise to go to a show and walk into my dream job. And I loved every aspect I did, coaching and everything. So yes.
When you look back at those years just teaching, those 5 years, what are some memorable moments that you have either in the classroom or on the field?
I enjoyed working with kiddos. Being sixth grade, I had all the kiddos in my classes. So I would have kiddos that are gifted, kiddos that are gen ed, kiddos that were special ed. And I really enjoyed working with all types of kiddos. I love pouring into each kiddo. And it might not just have been just teaching about social studies and history. It was more about talking about what's going on in their life, what are they up to, and just getting to know them. It's kind of like how I approach my business as well. I want to create those genuine connections with those kiddos, and get to learn who they are. I also just really also enjoyed being on the field or being on court. My passion of coaching comes out during games. I'm very competitive, and my kids knew I was very competitive. And so I would be jumping up, yelling, not like in a good way yelling, but like just encouraging them. And I just get so competitive. I think there was multiple videos Jeff recorded of me just getting into coaching and just the passion behind of encouraging them and just seeing them grow as an athlete as well and as a student. But it was really, for me, the highlight was just coaching too and getting to know those girls before they jumped into high school, which is a huge change going from middle to high school. So I would say just everything, just building connections with the kids. And I really enjoy it. And that's probably why we have 4 kids now. So, because I love kiddos. So I enjoy it. So yeah.
You said that you had landed your dream job here. You were a teacher and then you were a coach at the same time. But then at the same point, you're not still doing that. And so there was a shift that happened for you to want to pursue photography. Walk us through, why did you want to leave your dream job and pursue something completely different?
Great question. So we were pregnant with our first in 2016, and we welcomed our first kiddo, Copeland, December 2016. And as a teacher, it was great because they didn't count the holidays as your maternity leave. So that was nice. And so by the time I went back into the classroom after my maternity leave, I jumped right back into coaching, and because it was soccer season and everything. And so I jumped back in. Jeff and I would leave at like 6:30 in the morning, drop Copeland off at my in-laws, go out there. I wouldn't get to Copeland until probably 6, 7 o'clock at night. Those are after practices. Game night, I wouldn't see them all night because I wouldn't get home till 11 o'clock. And so we realized as I was coaching and teaching, we just weren't getting that time together as a brand new family. We were struggling a little bit, just like not like completely our marriage, but we were just struggling trying to find time for ourselves. Jeff and I were still huge in CrossFit, so we weren't even getting into CrossFit. And we knew that something had to change. And I realized, okay, coaching, I need to sacrifice for my family at this time because it's just not working. I'm missing my kiddo too much. I'm missing my husband. So April rolled around of 2017 and contracts were sent back out. And I stared at that contract for a week, talking to Jeff back and forth. What do I do? Do I sign this contract? I can't get out of my teaching and coaching contract. They just didn't have any teaching jobs that weren't tied to coaching at that time. And so he's like, we're going to have to take the leap of faith. And so I decided to not sign my contract. And I completely left the classroom in May of 2017. And with the leap of faith, we didn't know what was next for me. So I just kind of took this time. All my classroom friends, all my teachers went back to school in August, and I was like, this is weird. I'm not doing the first day back to school. I'm not shopping for school supplies. I'm not setting up my classroom. I'm like, this is weird. It wasn't until probably mid 2018 I found this husband and wife team out in Arizona. They used to be former teachers as well, but they were photographers. And I really loved their style. I love their coaching. It's like, I'm always using my phone to take photos. Why don't I learn how to use my camera? I still want to serve within the community. I want to maybe do photography. So I found out that they had a bunch of courses, kind of self-taught. And since they were former teachers, I was like, okay, like I think I can learn from them. So I started taking their courses mid-February, March of 2018, and then learned how to shoot. And then I started charging like $50, $75 for my first couple sessions. And from there, I just build my business, and it's been thriving ever since. And just the flexibility that I have now and within my business and to set my own schedule has been a tremendous change. Our family and within our marriage, and just being able to choose my schedule now, I've really enjoyed that. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I've made that shift from the to moving into photography.
So you said that you happened to find this couple who were photographers and they used to be teachers, and so they made this photography career work. Were you just looking for anything, or was photography in the back of your mind and then you thought, well, could I dabble into that? Like how did you stumble upon them and think, yeah, I'm not going to do pictures on my phone. Now I'm going to do pictures on a camera.
Yes, I think you know how Facebook ads get you? Well, they got me. I kept seeing some sponsor ads about them, and I kind of like researched them and kind of deep dive like, okay, what do they offer? So one of our mutual friends, Mallory, would take our newborn photos and everything, and I really loved how she captured our newborn photos. And then she captured our second kiddo's newborn photos. And I was like, I can do this. And so I reached out to her. I was like, hey, what camera should I start with? And so she kind of gave me tips on what cameras I should look for and what I should start with. And then I started looking into their courses. And when I started learning, I was like, I could do this. I know I could do this. I would love to capture photos of like just our kids, our friends' kids, or just like friends in general. And so I knew that I kind of wanted to do something with photography and my camera. And so I just started learning and self-teaching myself. And then I just had a lot of friends offer, like, hey, I'll be your mom. Hey, I'll do an engagement session. Like, we just got engaged. Laura and Freddie were like one of my first couples that I like did their engagement session. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And so it was really nice to have the support from friends and from my family to be able to like see how this would go. And so I just decided to pursue it and invested in a lot of education courses to start teaching myself how to be a professional photographer. And now fast forward 5 years later, I'm now doing this and I love it. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
you're very talented at it. Did you ever did you ever, before, like when you started investigating in this new career field, did you think like, yeah, I have a good eye for photography, or was it just something more of like, no, I can learn this. Like anyone can do this.
I wouldn't say I had the eye at that time. I was like, okay, I can do this. Pretty much. I was like, if they're doing it, and they were former fourth grade teachers, and they have a very successful business, why can't I do this? Like, I used to be a former teacher. Like, I can learn. I could go back to being the student and learn how to do this. And so, and when, people are willing to pay like $75 for my session, I'm like, okay, like people are willing to pay. Okay, I could do this. And so I started doing it, and it just progressed from there. And I was like, okay, like my eye has become a little bit more trained. And now doing weddings, like I think about when we got married almost 8 years ago, researching photographers, and like we didn't research a ton for photographers. Like, they're good. Oh, we'll hire them. Now I approach my business way different being a bride 8 years ago to now. And I've trained my eye to be more creative. I'm testing myself with different poses, different things I'm doing with couples and in families. I'm pushing myself more and more each day and learning how to be more creative in what I'm doing with photography. So I would say at first it was just like, meh, I could do this. And now I'm like, I have trained myself and pushing myself with more education. This to this day, I'm still investing in education to keep being a better photographer. So, yes.
With the education that you pursue, is a lot of it online options? Do you go in person? Is it a mix? Where have you found your educational courses that you take?
So my husband likes to call me educational hoarder because I like to invest in education. Jeff Lesher, he's like, because he does like my books. He's like, let's slow down on investing in so much education. It's just like anything that you do these days, we always want to become at our career, our job, and we always invest in either pursuing a little bit more continuing education or so forth. And so the same with photography. All photographers are trying to get better as a photographer, investing in themselves. And so I will say that I have a ton of educational courses. A lot of them are online, which is great, especially with family. You can kind of self pace yourself with the education courses. I have done in person education as well. I've joined masterminds, which are working with a high level coach, and there's like 12 of us in one group, and we're all working on our business, but it might be certain things that are different within our business that we're working on. And at the end of those masterminds, we meet in person for like a 2-day retreat. And that has been awesome because I have met so many friends through this industry that I probably would have never met still being in the classroom. And some of those friends are some of my best friends that I have loved that support me and I support their business. And so, yes, I would say a lot of the education is a mixture of online courses and in person retreats. And so I like the in person retreats because you get that interaction with everybody around you and you learn from them doing the in person. So, yes, I have a lot of education courses. I have slowed down this year just because I need to think smarter with education. But there's so much out there, and there's so many of my friends that have education courses out there with photography that are great for starters as well. If you're looking for education courses, feel free to reach out to me. I have a list for you.
Well, I like that you said you would join these masterminds, then at the end there would be a retreat and you could gain so much from that. I used to, when I was a teacher myself, we would do our trainings, and there was this lady who led a lot of our trainings, and her big thing was she would always say the smartest person in the room is the room. And so you have all these people in there and you can just bounce all these great ideas off of one another. And I would imagine with that, that's, you continue to improve and you have other eyes, someone else looking at your own business and saying, hey, have you tried to do this? Or what about, whatever that may be.
No, yeah, and that is we use an app when we're in these masterminds. We use an app called Voxer. If you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like a walkie-talkie style. It's really easy, and like in these masterminds we use Voxer, and everybody's constantly bouncing ideas off of each other, and we're getting eyes on things that because we all live in different states, which is really cool too. And so using Voxer and getting eyes and bouncing off ideas has been really nice. And even our coach that's leading the mastermind right now, she's bouncing ideas off of us and everything. So it is really nice to have these in person and small groups working together, whether it's a different goal that each of us are working on, we're still supporting each other and bouncing ideas off of each other. So, yeah.
That's great. Your specific look, I love. And I feel like just as your friend watching your photography transform, like it did not used to look the way that it looks now. As far as, I mean, like you said, your eye is changing, you're able to see, and you've trained it differently now that you've been it for what, 6 years, seven? I don't remember since 2018. Okay.
5 years.
So because of that, how did you get to, I know you're testing things out, but how did you get to like, no, I like, it's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this pink, but bright, but like airy. And how would you describe your look and how did you get to that?
Ooh, that is a loaded question just because I feel like all of us photographers, a lot of us go through editing kind of seasons and styles and what we want. So the couple I learned photography from, I really liked their style because they were light and airy. And I knew I wanted something true to color, true to skin tones. I didn't want moody. I knew I didn't want moody. I felt like light and airy brought life and brought a fresh of breath to it. And I just wanted to show the joyfulness of it. And so I started off a little bit darker, and then now I have gradually gotten to where I'm at. But a lot of that has to come through also, I have a private editor, and we have gone through down, I would say, rabbit holes where I like, no, I like this style. No, I like this style. Like, kind of blending in what I like from other people and making it our own, like my own. And so I have grown, I would say, over the last 3 years in of like the editing style. There's still things that I may want to tweak here and there. Just in Texas, we get greens that are very yellow. And so I kind of like the light and airy but filmy greens a little bit. So I'm still processing like my editing, but I'm like, I'm there right now and I'm very happy where my editing is. I just feel like it's a revolving door with us photographers is that in Instagram, we find ourselves as photographers like scrolling through lots of pretty images and everything. And we tend to like kind of go in the zone where we're like, oh, I like this photo. I like this photo. And really, I need to be brought back to my editing style and like my editor and I have zoned in and what works for me and what I love. And so I would say now that my editing is like not light and airy, but also the filmy greens, we're working on filmy greens and I really like the true to life and keeping those skin tones nice and beautiful for my couples and my family. And so I would describe also my editing as like that joyful breath of air, fresh air, and that it just breathes life into it. And so, and I want my couples to walk away loving their images, and they all are. And so I just need to sometimes be brought back to, no, my editing is amazing. We have worked really hard to get to where, and it's a lot of props between my editor and I working together and coming to an editing style that I love and I truly enjoy. So, yes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to know that you have an editor, you've outsourced that, but yet you still have a hand in it and you have that ability to say, no, let's try a little bit of this and that. And I think that's good for, let's say there is somebody listening that wants to get into photography and they're just like, but I don't know editing or I don't know this or that is an option to outsource so that you can maintain a balanced life.
Yeah, I wouldn't, my business wouldn't be where it is today if I did not work with my editor. Her name is Elisa McCormick. She's out in Arizona. I have been with her probably about 4 years now. She edits for some of my friends as well. She's an empty nester. She has all grown-up kids out of the house and everything, and having a private editor has freed up that amount of time, and I feel like it's okay and to have someone else do it. If someone else can do it 80% better, like, I'm all hands on deck. Hey, give it to them and everything, and now I return galleries back to my families and couples within 2 to 3 weeks, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have a private editor and be a wife and a full-time mom at home. And so now, like, having to have worked with Elisa over the past 4 years has just given me that time back, that I was wanting with my family and my kids and my husband, and so, I say it's okay to outsource. It's not a bad thing to outsource, especially when you're in a season where your time is so limited, and so I feel like now I can go to sessions and I can enjoy the capturing of the images because I now know, like, oh, I don't have to do the editing because my editor's gonna do it for me and everything. All I have to do is pick my images, give it to her, and she sends it back. And being with her the last 4 years, we have zoned in my editing. So she's got my editing down and everything. And I have loved working with her. And the time I just have gotten back with my family has been tremendous impact in our lives.
Well, and I was going to ask you, you left coaching and teaching because of the time commitment. And I know because you have become very successful in your photography business, you travel a lot for weddings. Weddings sometimes, I know you mentioned the other day that uh, the people are now starting to do like the night before party, the rehearsal dinner. They're doing like really fun themes, and so they're wanting a photographer for that, and so that's taking up a whole weekend. How has that freedom or time been for you and your family? Has it been as successful as you would have liked, or is that still an area where you think, that probably could use a little more tweaking, or is it really good as far as your time?
I feel like this year I've scaled back in the amount of weddings just because our kids are getting a little bit older. I want that they're in extracurricular activities on weekends and everything. But yeah, scaling back a little bit. And now, like the trends these days in the wedding industry, people are doing a welcome party. They want that. They want their wedding day. Some people want a brunch, but mostly it's like a Friday, Saturday thing that they want captured. And I have enjoyed doing that. I have traveled to multiple other cities outside of Texas, and have captured those rehearsal dinners and the all day weddings and everything. I would say my time in choosing and scaling back has still allowed me to have that and the freedom with my family because what I do is at the beginning of the year, I kind of plan out what major events do we have coming up as a family. And I immediately block those out. So I'm not booking weddings on those days or that weekend or anything. And blocking out those important dates, whether it's birthdays, vacations, or holidays, I'm not working then. I'm taking those off. And something else I did this summer is take off kind of like most of June and July to be able to have that family time and then pick back up in the fall. So I still think I have the flexibility, the freedom, the time with my kids, and I feel like where we're at with weddings, I feel very comfortable in the time that I do have, and I'm able to pour a lot of time into my couples as well and everything. So I do personally enjoy having capture welcome parties and the all day weddings. I do enjoy that just because it's a new trend now, and I really enjoy being with my couples that weekend because it's such a special time for them. And just to be able to celebrate them and capture those moments for them is just a huge blessing. And I love that I'm serving them.
Something that I've seen you do, Courtney, that I really appreciate, that I think makes your couples feel really welcome, is that you send them this like, "Hey, you're a Bosworth bride. You make them a part of your photography family." Could you just share a little bit about why you decided to do that and why that's important for your business?
So gifting is like my love language. I love gifting. I enjoy seeing the joys of gifting others. And so Bosworth household at Christmas Day, it's crazy because I go all out for Christmas. So when I approach my business, I want the couples to feel like they are part of our family. And so again, I love gifting. And so I reached out to one of my friends here that is also a creative, and I asked her, I saw her on one day. I was like, "What boxes are you sending?" And she goes, "There's a company here, a local company called Love and Found, and they customize your boxes whatever you would like in it." And I was like, "Oh, awesome." And so I reached out to them and we kind of customized my box and what would work for them, like what my couples would really like. And then I reached out to another friend in Florida because they would do these customized t-shirts as well. And so I'm working with a local company in Alabama to make our shirts. And so I ship everything to Love and Found here in Texas. They, when a bride books with us, then I go in, I order my box, I put everything together for me, and then we send it over. And my couples just love feeling like they're part of like the wedding experience because I know as a bride 8 years ago, like we we did not get that. Like we didn't get like a we didn't like we felt okay, but we didn't feel like a family. We just I wanted for me to approach my business, I wanted me to connect with the couples. I wanted us to create a genuine relationship. I didn't want to be just another vendor to them. I want to be able to celebrate milestones with them beyond the wedding day. And I want them to feel like they can come to us for anything. And I want them to truly have a good wedding experience and a stress free one. So in those boxes are my t shirts, but we also send a wedding guide as well and an engagement guide just to prep them, just to get them prepared because this is all new to them. They don't plan weddings all the time. This is all new to them. They don't know where to start. And so I know I'm serving them and that they're part of our family and that we're here to help them in any way possible. And there's always something in there for the grooms as well because I don't want to leave them out because they did pop the question. And so I also want them to feel included in the wedding experience as well and feel like someone else, not just the bride as well. So, yeah, so those boxes go out every time a couple ends up booking us. And it's been a great thing. And I'm not going to end up changing that just because I love gifting. And so, yeah, it's a great company. So if you're looking for a local company, they're here in Texas. It's called Love and Found Boxes, and they're great. So to work with.
I love that you do that because I really do think that I mean that would be cool to get. Like you're so excited, it's your wedding, and your photographer sends something to you, and like you said, the bride is just they're giddy, they're excited, they don't know what to do, and then the fact that you have something for the groom, I think it's super special. Well, so Courtney, you've blown up to be very successful. A photographer being flown all over the United States, overseas. Have you done overseas yet for weddings?
I haven't done over yet. So mostly in the US.
Okay, well, one day. Well, so how does it feel knowing that
one day?
How does it feel knowing that you've accomplished such great success in what appears to be a short amount of time?
I'm still like I'm very excited, very blessed. Of all the cities we've gone to, we've been to Seattle, we've been to Portland, we've been to Charleston. As you would go to my Instagram page, you'll see lots of Charleston just because I love Charleston. I have built so many good friends in Charleston. We have been many places and I am very thankful because I love traveling. Traveling is just like one of my favorite things to do. And so if I can travel for weddings, I'm all for it, just to photograph in new places. And so I'm still working on, growing as a photographer. But over the last like 4.5, 5 years, I've been so blessed to watch my little baby. I've created this business to where it is now. I honestly have to just go back to thanking the Lord and thanking my husband, my friends that have supported me because I've had a lot of people are like, well, you're just not using your degree, or oh, she's only going to do this for like a year or two because it's just a new thing. But now to have been in it for 5 years and have had the support behind me to push me and have this community that a lot of people don't know. I mean, a lot of wedding industries, we're all part of this community and we're all supporting each other. And some of us have never met in person. We've all become like social media friends. And then there's a couple of my friends, especially in Charleston, that I have became social media at first through Instagram. And then I didn't meet them in person until I went to Charleston. And now we're best friends. And so there's this whole, a lot of people don't know that a lot of us are just creative that have met through social media, and have been part of this wonderful community, and that we're always pushing yourself to be, better each day as a photographer and grow together. And so I would say that I'm very blessed the last 5 years, but I'm also growing every day as a business owner because I want to continue to grow as a photographer and grow as a business owner, with the community around me. And I'm very thankful for everybody that has supported me at this point in my career. So,
When I saw you recently, you and I were talked about, that you love your business, you love what you're doing, and you're looking for like some type of change, whether that's, you know, I don't know, you're looking for some type of change. What do you think year one Courtney would say to you, year one Courtney of photography would say to you right now?
find your passion and find your joy in what you do, and enjoy the moment that you're in. Because year one, it was like hustle, hustle, hustle. Year one and two, and now it's like trying to just remembering and zoning back and why you started. What was your reason you started? Why did you start this? Why have you grown your business over the last 5 years? And just knowing your purpose and your why and everything. Because I look at my family every day and I'm like, why do I do this? Why? It's because there's things in life that I want to provide for them. And I know that I started this business because I'll be able to provide these things for them. And so sometimes I have to go back. Anytime I'm doubting myself as a photographer, I try to hone back into why I started this. Why am I doing this? My family, for one, but I'm also doing it because I have learned over this past year how important photos are to not just my couples, but also to families. Because to know that one of my past brides, I captured the last moment of her and her mom together. And I realized how important that is and how I served her by capturing that photo. So sometimes when I'm ever in a doubt of what I'm doing, why am I doing this? I go back to what have I done? How have I served those people? What memories have I created for them? And know that I served her just providing that last photo of her and her mom. And knowing that these photos are going to be cherished for a lifetime, and know that I'm serving within the community. And so, yes, I am looking for a little shift, but not too much. I'm still going to do weddings, but I'm also looking into more families and capture more phone moments for them, just because I see how quickly the kids are growing here, that I want to be able to provide those memories for families as well, and kind of just deep diving into a little bit more family photography and scale back on the weddings just a little bit. So as I'm flying out tomorrow to Utah, because I'm going to a workshop that I have been dying to go to over the last 2 years, and it's for family photography. And so I'm really excited to kind of go out of my comfort zone in a way of trying to learn more of family photography and kind of grow as a family photographer as well. So, yeah.
I really like your reflection on realizing that you're helping by you taking these pictures of weddings. You took a picture of this last picture that this bride got to have to share with her mother. That's really special. And that, it like you said, you have a why. Your why can be a lot of different things, but that is part of it, of just sharing these special moments that this bride is going to have forever, that you get to be a part of that. And I think that just puts a little more purpose in the job that you do and the importance of what you do. And the fact that you didn't know anything at all about photography and you just took these education classes and you just pursued it and chased after it. Courtney, I have just a couple more questions for you and then I want to let you go. Just kind of what I was saying, I think the beauty about the conversations that I have with women on this podcast specifically is that we all get the opportunity to age and try something new if we want. And so for you, you pursued a foreign career, photography, after teaching for 5 years, and then before that you were in the working in nursing, and you have made a career hugely successful. You had to figure out a way to navigate motherhood and be a business owner, and you're still doing that. It hasn't stopped. What would you say to the woman who feels stuck in a career, whatever that may be, and has a business idea but is terrified of pursuing this idea?
So this is a great question because this was me back in 2017 staring at that contract. Do I sign? Do I not sign? What am I doing? I'm eliminating an income to our family, a brand new family. Are we going to be okay? And knowing that it was in God's hands at that time, I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna, I'm gonna take the leap of faith. I don't know what's next, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And so I did. And so for the women that are in their businesses or at their jobs, whether it's teaching or in the corporate world or anything, and you're thinking you have this business idea, but you don't know how to go or start it, I always say start small and then grow from there. And then if it keeps growing, then maybe like look at everything, your corporate job or your teaching job, and look at your side, like say side hustle for right now, your business. And is it progressing? Is it growing so quickly that maybe it's time I can leave this job and pursue my business and my dream business because it has taken off. I've seen so many people and so many friends that have been in the Air Force or they've done teaching or they've done a corporate job and they have done a creative entrepreneur business and they have grown so much. And I feel like the fear always stops us from doing something that we want to do. And I feel like we need to get over that hurdle of that fear and take that leap of faith and go ahead and pursue it. Whether it's not leaving your job completely yet and doing this side job for right now and hustling that first 1, 2 years, 3 years or so, and then see it progress. And once it starts taking off, then you can go back to that job and think, okay, is it time for me to go full time within my business? And if it is, then you can go ahead and resign from that job and go ahead and pursue your dream. I feel like too, age becomes in there, and I feel like, okay, am I too old or am I too young to do this? No, one of my coaches, my mastermind coaches, she was 17 years old when she decided to pursue her job. And she is amazing. She makes 6, 7 figures doing her photography business. She has created courses. And this is when 17 years old thinking, okay, maybe I'll try this. Tried college, stopped, and she pursued the creative entrepreneurship. And now she's has this full blown amazing business, speaking at conferences. And then I also have a good friend that is just turned 40, and she has a successful business in Charleston. And I feel like it doesn't matter if you're 17 or 40, you can go ahead and start your business and pursue that dream that you have of having. Um, Maybe it's a side hustle for right now until it does grow. But I think getting over that fear is a huge thing that we kind of build up inside and don't want to take that leap of faith. So I know I had the fear. I am so much happier in my business, my life, seeing my kids happy because I'm present more and everything, and see that I have grown so much within that 5 years.
Love it. Yes. My last question for you, very, very similar. It's not necessarily career related. It's just technically in general. So if you could encourage one woman who feels limited to pursue a dream or a goal based on her age or life circumstance, what would you tell her?
For those that feel limited, whether it's your age or not, I feel like you need to get out there, pursue your dream. I feel like I always tell my husband, I'm like, this is like a moving part, because I would love to like go move somewhere and experience the world. And I always joke, I'm like, but not really. You have one life. I feel like you need to live it to the fullest and what brings you happy and what brings you joy. And if you have a passion that you're not using and you want to use that within, whether it's starting a business or anything, start small and build from there and just enjoy what you're doing, because I also feel like too, we also feel like, okay, I'm too old for this or I'm too young. But just remember that 17-year-old that started their business and is now making 6-7 figures, and a 40-year-old that has a thriving business, and I'm almost 38 and my business is thriving right now. And I don't feel like an age should limit you and what you're doing and what you want to pursue in your life. And if it's not teaching, it could be something else. And so I want to encourage you to not have that fear of age or time, because you still have time to pursue that dream, to open that business that you've always wanted, whether it's a boutique or it's a bakery shop. I want to encourage you that you can do this and that there is no time limit on when you need to start that business. And don't have that fear, just leap into it and surround your people that are going to encourage you and support you, that are going to be behind you 100%. Because if I didn't have that community and I didn't have that support from my family and my friends, I would not be where I'm at with my photography business right now.
Awesome, Courtney. I love it. Thank you so much for just sharing your story and your passion. I am going to link in the show notes your website and where people can find you on Instagram. Would you mind just sharing it now as well so people can hear it at least, and then I'll post it for the show notes?
Yes, if you want to find me, or if you need a friend or someone to encourage you, you can find me at Courtney Bosworth Photography on Instagram. And you can pop in my DMs anytime. I'm always there answering questions and helping others that are first-year photographers as well, and just providing support for them. So yes, again, it's at Courtney Bosworth Photography.
Wonderful. Y'all check out her beautiful pictures, photography. You're going to love it. If you're about to have a wedding or you're a family, you need some family pictures, and you're in the DFW. Well, you can fly out Courtney to your wedding. If you're getting married in Honolulu, she's up for it. Courtney, thank you so much for joining me on the More Than Your Age podcast. This was a treat.
Thank you.
If you were encouraged by today's episode, like and subscribe to this podcast and share this episode with a friend. You can find me on Instagram at More Than Your Age and visit the More Than Your Age Facebook page. Keep striving for your goals, live fully, and we'll catch you next time on the More Than Your Age podcast.